Hello, this is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, bringing you the best recordings of Kodály's Háry János suite. Now, this is a bunch of excerpts from not quite an opera. There's only been one recording of the original play with music, which is really what it is. It's mostly dialogue with musical numbers interpolated, and that's on Hungarian, if you can still find it and if you want it, because there's a lot of people talking in Hungarian. The best way to get sort of a sense of what the complete work is, if that's really what interests you, would be to get István Kertész's recording on Decca, which is here in this Kertész in London box. It's also available as a Decca twofer. And in that, all the different parts are played by Peter Ustinov, which, I mean, delightfully. And you know, I actually met Mr. Ustinov for a dinner at the Bergen Music Festival many years ago. It was a slightly surreal dinner because the guests were Peter Ustinov and Alfred Schnittke, who was never exactly a charmer in his best days, and he was toward the end of his life then and very ill, and so he was sort of gray looking and depressed. And the King of Norway, who was charming and diplomatic, because that's what European royalty does now. They don't rule, they just, serve as sort of a tourist attraction. And, the Norwegian word for king, in case you didn't know, is kong. And, I said to my Norwegian friends, why do you call your king Kong? And they just stopped and stared at me and went, oh, yeah, we never thought of that, But it was a very interesting meal because Peter Ustinov was a raconteur of, amazing ability. And that's what he actually did at the Bergen Music Festival. He sat on the stage and told stories that were absolutely hilarious. And so he was the perfect guy to do these characters in Háry János in the Kertész recording. And so it's a delightful disc, and it's definitely worth hearing. But for most of us, what we know of as Háry János is the suite. And, again, it's one of those pieces. It used to be recorded and played all over the place, but you don't hear it the way we used to because we're too busy playing Bruckner all the time. Everything has gotten so restricted and serious, in concert. Our concert life has gotten positively grim. And this piece is hilarious. It's incredibly amusing. And, it needs to be played with all of the character and cartoonish, exaggeration that you can bring to it. Now, there were wonderful modern recordings. In early days of digital, this was a logical piece because it's brilliantly scored. I mean, it was one of the first pieces I played in my college orchestra at Johns Hopkins. And let me tell you, it's work. I mean, especially for the mallet players, the finale, which is, that stuff. I mean, that's unison xylophone and glockenspiel, and they have to be totally in lockstep. I mean, they're virtuoso parts. And the Viennese musical clock, and of course you need a cymbalum player. A cymbalum, in case you haven't seen one, sort of looks like the open bit of an upright piano, and you hit the strings with little mallets, and it makes this delightful twangy sound. It's kind of like a zither, except zithers are plucked, and this is banged. And the part in the romance and the Hungarian sort of verbunkos, that wonderful Hungarian melody movement just before the finale. I mean, the parts, again, it's a virtuoso part. And finding virtuoso cymbalum players isn't exactly easy. We did it on a piano, which is an option, but not an authentic one. It truly isn't. And so, the piece, I guess, doesn't get played as much as it used to be. But, as a digital showpiece, there were wonderful recordings by Nimi Järvi in Chicago and Jo Levy in Atlanta, who did one for Telarc. And Järvi's was on Chandos. And, Eugene Ormandy did it twice. I mean, people used to record this music. Now, I don't know what's going on. Of course, the whole recording industry is imploded, and, the funding isn't there, and there aren't major conductors and orchestras with recording contracts. And this was one of those pieces, when you did Lieutenant Kijé, or you did some other sort of, colorful fantasy fairy tale / film / something, you could toss in Háry János too, or Bartók's lighter side, if you could find one, and Kodály together, you could do Háry János, or on Kodály discs with the peacock variations or the dances of Galanta and Marasek. I don't know. Thank God we have these recordings. So the Kertész is where you can go if you're looking for a quasi-complete set of the actual work with a lot of extra orchestral numbers. But for the most part, the best recordings are Hungarian, made by Hungarians. There's no reason it has to be that way, because like I said, you've got Levy, you've got Järvi. The piece itself is brilliance incarnate. But there seems to be a certain, ironic humor that Hungarian conductors capture. One of the discs you could consider, which is really quite wonderful, is this Kodály Twofer with Antal Dorády, because it's got all of Kodály's orchestral music basically on 2 discs, very well performed, and it's a lovely disc. It opens with the Háry János suite, but you also get the Galanta dances, the Marosek dances, the Peacock variations, the Theater Overture, the Concerto for Orchestra, Summer Evening, and the Symphony in C. And of course, it's all lovely music. It ain't Bartók. It's easy to listen to. It's pleasant. It doesn't get, all that difficult. Although the Peacock variations really are a masterpiece, of a deeper sort, I think. But it's magnificent music, and Dorády is a wonderful guide to it. So that's a disc worth considering if you have a wider interest in Kodály. But just for Háry János, there are 3 recordings. 3 that are absolutely, positively essential. One of them, no surprise, is George Szell. This was a great disc. Remember, there's 2 musical fables. It has his Lieutenant Kijé suite, which is totally phenomenal, and Háry János. And this is the Japanese Szell edition CD. I mean, it also has the Pavlovsian dances by Borodin, and the Capriccio Espagnol by Rimsky-Korsakov, and Lyudov's the Enchanted Lake. In other words, it has little Szell bits, all those little Szell bits that you don't know where to put them. So they all got glommed onto this one CD. But Szell, I mean, his Háry János is extraordinary. He does tinker a little bit. I mean, very little bit, but he does, which I think is a wonderful thing, because it just shows that, as always with Szell, he was always thinking about the best way to present it. And what he does, and this is something that really shocked me, because when I was playing it, it threw me off. The very last note is a solo for the bass drum. And the way it's written in the score is dum, bum, bum, boom. It's not what Szell does. Szell is dum, bum, bum, boom. That's how Szell did it. And, when I was initially playing percussion in the orchestra, it's a problem knowing as many recordings as I did, because I was already a huge record collector and I'd heard every recording of the piece in the world. And so you feel like, well, you don't have to read music, you don't have to count, you know what's supposed to happen. So I'm playing bass drum, we get to the end, the orchestra's dum bum bum. I wait and went pow, just like Szell did it. And the conductor looked at me and said, "What are you doing? It's not the way it's written. It's boom, like that." And sure enough, if you actually count, you don't get Szell's ending. That's Szell's ending, not Kodály's ending. And so, of course, I, very respectfully said to the maestra, it was a lady conductor, I said to her, "Well, that's how George Szell does it." And she says, "I don't give a shit how George Szell does it. Play it the way Kodály wrote it." So I did, feeling wrong all the way. Because when somebody like Szell makes a decision like that, and you buck that decision, somehow it just doesn't feel right. Sorry, but that's okay, because there are two other Hungarian suites that play that last bass drum note exactly the way Kodály wrote it and are fabulous in all other respects. One that has never been equaled, never, for sheer humorous character. I mean, just unbelievable character, is Fricsay. Now, Fricsay's, this is mono, but it sounds perfectly fine, and holy cow. I mean, you get also the two sets of dances, Marasek and the Galanta dances, and the Salmos Hungaricus. But this Hungarian suite has so much personality. It's so funny. The battle with Napoleon, when Napoleon is, defeated and runs away weeping on the saxophone going, I mean, it's visual. You can actually see these characters interacting with each other. It's just phenomenal how much sheer personality and color Fricsay gets out of the music. And one of the things about this performance is that it's so compelling that it kind of spoils you for like anything else. You find yourself, when you hear other performances, listening for those moments that have that special humor and whimsy and character, and then of course they don't have them, and you just think to yourself, what is it with these people? Why can't they like get their acts together? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. But the other recording worth getting, and not just for the Hungarian suite, and it comes close, very close to Fricsay, is Ivan Fischer with the Budapest Festival Orchestra. This is also just a knockout of a performance. But the most wonderful thing about it is that you get, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5 other instrumental excerpts from the Singspiel, from the play, János. So you have no dialogue, unfortunately no Peter Ustinov, but you get much more instrumental music than just the Hungarian suite. And then they do the Hungarian suite integrally, as its own work. So these are separate pieces. And let me just tell you what they are, is they tell you there's the flute-playing hussar, the old woman, the Jewish family, Háry riding Lucifer, the devil, and the two gypsies. And these are short pieces. They're short little excerpts. They run, from like about a minute to a little bit less than 2 minutes each. But they're delicious. They're absolutely delicious. They're wonderful, wonderful things to have. And so you get, more of Hungarian than you do anywhere else without having to deal with all the dialogue and the craziness. And, the story is, Hungarian is a braggart. He spins tall tales about his own, daring exploits. And so the music is wonderfully, like I said, it's cartoonish. It's what it is. It's a cartoon. So if you're looking for the best Hungarian, then you absolutely have to get Fricsay. The Zell is worth having because of Zell. The Fischer is, without question, the modern recording to own for the best sound, plus other excerpts from the play. And if you want to hear the play, you get Kertész with Peter Ustinov. And if you want everything Kodály wrote for orchestra, you get Antal Dorati. And, if you're a demented collector myself, you get all of them, plus the Järvi, plus the Levy, plus the two Ormandies, plus anything else you can get your hands on. Because, let's face it, folks, we're just not normal. We aren't. But what the hell, So anyway, keep on listening to this and other delightful cartoonish pieces by Kodály and his friends. It's wonderful, wonderful music. A great way to perk yourself up on a gloomy day. Thank you, folks, and all the best.